Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel Complicated Relationships Reddit Stories. Hope you guys are safe and healthy. Now let's see what the story is about today. What if your girlfriend goes to a party when you firmly tell her not to, fools around with another guy and end up in the hospital? Let's find out all about it in today's story. Also, if you like what I do, please give this video a thumbs up and do subscribe to the channel.
I've been dating Sarah for just under 2 years now. She has a close friend, John, who she's known since she was a child. I never liked him. He was always a little creepy, blatantly flirted with Sarah for the entirety of our relationship, and made occasional passes that I was not comfortable. 2 weeks back, Sarah and I were invited to a party by a mutual friend. I had a workshop at work that night, so I couldn't attend, and with current circumstances, I was never inclined to go anyways. I didn't want Sarah to go either, but she was very adamant, and I guess I just didn't want an argument, so I said fine. We ended up running into John later that day, and he mentioned the same party and asked us if we had been invited as well. My girlfriend told him she was going, but I wasn't, and he got this weird smile on his face and said something along the lines of, "If you're going, I guess I have to go." Just something about his smile and the way he said it really rubbed me the wrong way. Plus, I didn't want to be possessive, but the idea of both of them together all night at a party did not sit well with me. After we got back to our apartment, I told her, a bit more firmly this time, that I'm not comfortable with her going to the party, especially with him there.
Now the girlfriend told OP that he was overreacting and shut down the conversation at that.
I'm sure most of you can figure out where this is going. I went to the workshop and she went to the party. It got to be like 2 a.m. and she hadn't gotten home nor was answering my calls. I was incredibly worried. About an hour later, one of her friends called me and told me she was found unconscious at the party and driven to the hospital. She was assaulted by John, and after spending 2 days, including that night at the hospital, and talking with police, I took her home. She told me John drugged her and dragged her upstairs where it happened in one of the bedrooms. She was an absolute mess. She didn't want to go outside, she wasn't eating, had terrible nightmares. I did everything I could to comfort her through this process. I was devastated for her and hated to see her like this, but, and I know this makes me sound like a terrible person, I don't blame her for John assaulting her, but I couldn't get the fact I tried more than once to dissuade her from going to the party and specifically saying her being with John makes me uncomfortable out of my head. I feel I could have done more to protect her, and she should have listened to how I felt.
After what happened to her, they both felt it was best to get justice.
We immediately filed a restraining order, and the police opened an investigation. Within the span of a week, after news had gotten around, 2 other girls came forward with similar encounters with John. Cut to now, my girlfriend is still in no better shape than she was 2 weeks ago. She gets panic attacks out of nowhere, she's lost like 15 pounds and absolutely refuses to leave her apartment, even to seek therapy. I was committed to taking care of her and being there for her, but I got a call from one of my close friends, Sam, this morning. It was a long conversation. That night, he saw Sarah flirting with John the entire beginning of the party. According to him and people he had been talking to, she was at the very least matching, if not being the initiator in these exchanges with John. He also recounts that she wasn't blackout drunk or seemingly that out of it, and many saw her holding John's hand taking him upstairs. At this point, I feel like I want to vomit. He told me he wanted the situation to cool down a bit before telling me, and was going to tell me after the party, but with her being taken to the hospital under the circumstances, he didn't feel it was the right time.
OP decided to ask her about the specific of what happened that night. She tried to tell him the same thing, that she was high and was dragged into the bedroom. But OP told her what Sam said. The color completely drained from her face.
She started to panic, and I did my best to calm her down, but it was at least 30 minutes before she could catch her breath to speak. She was sobbing, but she was coherent enough to understand and basically confessed to cheating on me. She said she was drunk and hadn't been out for so long, she wanted some adventure. She admitted she's the one that took John to the bedroom and wasn't dragged there against her will. She kept apologizing and saying it was a terrible mistake and that nothing else was a lie. As far as I can understand now, it was when they were in the bedroom fooling around that he slipped something into her here or something like that, Then he forced himself on her. I don't know what to do anymore, but to me, everything before that was her still intending to cheat and actively cheating on me. I am devastated, and I don't even want to look at her right now. I left the apartment and am currently at Sam's house. I don't know anything anymore. She lost her job to COVID. I pay rent for the apartment where her name isn't on the lease and groceries. She's become completely emotionally dependent on me the past few weeks. If I did break up with her, she would have nowhere to go, and as much as I resent her, I don't want something terrible happening to her.
Now, here is the update.
Oh boy, I wish I could say things have gotten clearer in the past week, but honestly, it's been a total train wreck, and it's only gotten worse. I spent a few days at Sam's reaching out to friends trying to get a clearer picture of what happened that night before going back to talk to Sarah. I was told that she was the one who started flirting with John and led him upstairs. In my first conversation with Sarah confronting her, she didn't explicitly say that she had intended to sleep with him that night. She was basically having panic attack throughout the entire conversation, so I had a hard time pushing for clarity. So by this point, I was trying to find any excuse at all for her to save our relationship, but my mind was telling me that the relationship was over, at least for the time being. Despite my obvious grief in losing a 2-year relationship, I decided I'd be willing to let her stay in my apartment again, rent-free, to at least the end of October to sort out other living arrangements.
OP called her about 3 days after staying at Sam's and told her that he was willing to listen to her side of the story, but he needs the complete truth about everything, and she agreed.
We sat down, and I asked her about what really happened that night. She started crying right away, but not panicking, and told me she had to tell me something about herself. Sarah has always been into the partying scene more than me. I've never really been comfortable around and that environment in general, but I went with her anyways about once a month or so. Her, on the other hand, would have girls' nights out and parties pretty much every weekend. Right at the beginning of our relationship, I told her I'm not really comfortable, and she told me that's fine since she only drinks and smokes weed occasionally. But later, she started doing parties when I'm not there, and her girls' nights were often just her and some from our social circle, John included, going to a friend's apartments to party. I was shocked to say the least, and I didn't even know what to think in that moment. She comes clean and tells me she did lead John upstairs, but swears she wasn't trying to sleep with him. She told me he immediately started coming on to her, but she tried to fight him off, but eventually she was too drugged out to fight back.
OP asked her what her relationship with John was really like before, and if anything happened before that night.
She admitted that they made out a few times before around Christmas last year, but promised it didn't go any further than that. She was begging me to forgive her and that she needs me in her life, that she was just in a rebellious phase because of her upbringing. I didn't know what to believe anymore, and still don't, to be honest. I was just completely overwhelmed by everything, so I told her I needed to clear my head and left again. Sam was nice enough to let me stay at his place again. I talked to some of my friends, and they confirmed. I was pretty upset at them for hiding it from me, but they told me she basically forced them to keep it a secret from me. It feels like so much of my relationship was a lie. She wasn't the person I thought she was, and she lied constantly for who knows how long. At this point, my mind is basically made up, so I call her and told her it's over, but she can stay at my apartment till the end of October.
She really lost it during the call, but OP's mind was made up. So he just said he'd be staying at Sam's for a while and hung up.
I wish that was the last of this mess, but literally a day after that, I start getting spammed with hate messages and calls from friends, relatives, and people I don't even know. Turns out, she's posted all over social media about how I was breaking up with her because I was kicking her out with nowhere to go in these COVID times. She also wrote that I've been victim blaming her and stopping her from getting a therapist. I'm completely lost. I'm furious, heartbroken. I can't even describe all the emotions I felt. I called her again that night and told her she has 2 weeks to move out now, and I don't want to hear from her again. I had to spend the past week playing damage control, trying to clear my name on social media, calling friends and family. I was ostracized by coworkers, though luckily my boss was on my side. My life basically fell apart. Sam, thank God, was completely understanding through all of this and said I could stay at his place until Sarah moved out. She's moving out on Friday, but I don't want to go back to that apartment. I've had to cut out friends. My reputation is now in the garbage. I lost the first and only person I've ever loved. I don't know anymore. I'll find a therapist sooner or later. I just feel numb to everything. I don't even know if I'm right or wrong in this situation anymore. I hope I haven't rambled on too much. I know this post is really long, but thank you really for everyone who showed support in the last post. It meant a lot.
End of the story. Well, Opie, you're as much a victim here. While what happened to her was terrible, the way she is treating you is manipulative and cruel. You are not required to love and support people who do not love and support you back. Focus on yourself and please seek a therapist now. You're feeling hurt now and that's okay. Emotions are temporary and, while overwhelming in this moment, will eventually pass. Find friends and family who you can talk to. The friends who lied to you about her aren't your friends. Friends don't lie to one another. It sounds like your family loves and supports you. Good luck to you on your next chapter in life. Thank you all for listening. Please like, comment and share the video if you enjoyed it. Also, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you will be notified when we upload the next video. Take care.